Hey BookTube, how's it going? Um, so um, I started it yesterday after a very odd day of reading stuff. But I finally started Foundation by Isaac Asimov, and I think it's from 1951. Um, I could be wrong about this, but I think it's like the science fiction series that made modern day science fiction. Um, a lot of things talked about in here might be the first time ever talked about, like the Galactic Empire, hyperdrive or hyperspace, um, just fun little things like that. um, the first couple times I tried to read this is kind of stupid actually, and I feel kind of dumb. But I would just read like the first like page or so, and it was so dry. And I was just like, fucking hell, this is so dry. It's like a fucking textbook. And then I realized yesterday that is a encyclopedia entry, and that a lot of the chapters have these encyclopedia entries at the beginning of them, and that is why I felt that way. So that made me feel really dumb. Basically, and this is really interesting. I found this on Wikipedia. The book apparently was what they call a fix-up, which is where you take a bunch of short stories and you put them together to make a novel. But a lot of times you have to like write something to make them go together, kind of thing. And in Foundation, the first story, which they call the Psychohistorians, that is the bit that was written by Asimov specifically for the novel form of this book. Um, so that's kind of cool. But basically, um, it, dang it. Okay. Um, Harry Seldon um, is this like mathematician, psychohistorian kind of dude. And he has predicted the fall of the Galactic Empire within the next 500 years. And so, like, everyone wants to, everyone in the Empire at least, wants to have him executed for treason. And as the story starts, we're with this young mathematician dude named Gal or Gale, Gall. I don't know. I called him Gall, but he might not be Gall. Um, but he gets there to work with Harry on all this stuff. And what ends up happening is he gets arrested for treason as well. And the use of psychohistory is basically using a bunch of equations and all this other stuff to scientifically and mathematically predict future outcomes. And it doesn't necessarily predict how things happen, it just predicts the happening. Um, but for Selden, he always is kind of like in the know. Oh my gosh, people. Like, he knows way more than anyone would assume that he would know. So this first book, it basically goes the first like 70 years from the time uh, the Galactic Empire basically exiles the scientists to this planet on the very edge of the universe called Terminus. And Selden tells the Empire that the only thing he wants to do is write the Encyclopedia Galactica that will basically tell everyone, no matter what kind of fall happens in the Empire, since there is no stopping it, only shortening the amount of time of the Dark Ages, basically, that he wants to use all these scientists to make this encyclopedia so it will be everywhere, so everyone will know the history of the universe, and blah, 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 blah. And it is so good. It's such a good book. I'm so glad. It's like when I read stuff, it's usually on a whim. Like, I'm not like planning anything. That's why TBRs for me are really hard, because I always will just pick up some other book and start reading it. But it was so fucking good. And I burned through it. But so yeah, it goes over like the first like 70 to 80 years, I think, of Terminus, and the Foundation, which is the foundation for encyclopedias, or whatever the fuck they're going to call it. But apparently the Encyclopedias, the first part of it, was originally published in 1942 in Astounding Science Fiction. And the rest of the stories that make up this first 80 years were also in Astounding Science Fiction. So that was pretty interesting. But the whole time I was reading this, I was just like, fucking hell, dude. Out of all the crap they make TV shows out of, like, this would be such a good show. It would be like Battlestar Galactica meets Game of Thrones without all of the love and sex. But then I was like going, okay, but if they did it, they could like write in that shit, and that would be like what their writers are there for and all that. It's just so like political, and it's super intriguing. It's just, it's so good. And like the two main characters, Gall and Selton, in the first story, they're, well, Selton is kinda, but that Gall guy isn't in the rest of them because it's so many years later. And so when the rest of like the next part of the book goes, and I'm like, oh no, like I know what these people are doing here, but I don't know who I'm supposed to like. And you don't know the exact situation, because I think the first story takes place 30 years later, I want to say. 30 or 50. I think it's 50 years later. And man, like, just how it unfolds. Like, Hardin is like the, like, think of like the most amazing like lead you can have in something. Like, hero, main fucking dude. That's who this guy is. He is awesome. So there's that. But anyway, so I'm like thinking about this TV show shit, and I'm like going, fuck, man. So then I start like Googling and stuff to see if it was ever tried, you know? And what I came across was this. Um, on June 27th, 2017, it was reported that Skydance Television was developing a series adaptation of Asimov's science fiction book series Foundation with David S. Goyer and Josh Friedman. Okay. Then on April 10th, 2018, it was announced that Apple, through their worldwide video unit, has bought the series and put it in development. Then on April 23rd, it was announced that Apple has given the production an order of 10 episodes for the first season. So we don't know when it's coming out, and Asimov's daughter, Robin, is an executive producer, as well as David Ellison, Dana Goldberg, Marcy Ross. So there you go. But yeah, I just got like so flippin' excited. But here is what I want them to do, and I know they're not going to do this. They seriously, the first season of the show should just be the psychohistorians and the trial and all of that shit. And you can add new characters in to have the silly subplot dramas that are needed to make a TV show watchable or whatever. But man, like if they oh my gosh, there's such an opportunity to do this cool. Like you could do the whole American Horror Story thing where you have the same cast and each season they're playing different characters. You could totally do that because each like chunk of the book, and even in what is it, Foundation and Empire, or is it Empire and Foundation? I don't know, but that's the second one, and I'm reading that now. That one jumps around too, so it's totally plausible. But it's just, it would be so freaking riveting, I think. Just how all of this stuff works, the intrigue of the council, like what they're willing to do to squash the idea that the empire could crumble, and then like us seeing the empire crumble. Oh my gosh, that would be so awesome. But they're not going to do that. They're going to try to probably do the whole fucking book in one season, in 10 episodes. And that's just awful. So let's cross our fingers that they're watching this and listening to me. Listen to me, people. You could have like some love interest for Gaul. You know, like that's a thing. That could happen. You know, just don't go off book. Like there's enough in this book to handle the TV show itself. You don't need to change anything. Your job is super easy. Okay? Are you hearing me? It's not broken. Don't fix it. Okay? It will work. You have the first 5 seasons of this show in one book. You'll never have a Game of Thrones problem. Okay? Well, you wouldn't anyway. But, I mean, for F's sake, it goes on forever. I know that there's 2 prequels. I wonder if that would be a better place to start. Nope, I'm going to stick to my guns. Start with Foundation. So anyway, if you like Game of Thrones and Battlestar Galactica and stuff like that, and maybe you're okay with there not being any sex or anything in it. Like, I'm trying to remember. I don't think there was a single female in the first book. I can't remember. I don't think there was. But there is in the second book. there's at least 2. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Sunday, boom. Definitely read Foundation. I can't believe I didn't read it before now. So, anyway, see you later, guys.